I have been thinking about what Donald Trump planned to do for the Afghanistan pullout because he criticised Joe Biden for his pullout. So let's look at what Donald Trump's plan was. It was to pull out, except keep the airbase, Bagram Air Base. So he would have kept that. Now, I don't know what his plan was, but I'm assuming the Taliban would have taken over Afghanistan like they actually did, since his plan was to pull out but just keep Bagram Air Base, and it doesn't talk about anything about the Afghanistan government. So I'm just going to assume that his plan assumes that the Taliban were inevitably going to take power. So he's going to keep one airbase in the middle of a hostile country. So I don't think that would work. Of course, what he's thinking is Syria, but well, Syria is a different case scenario because the government of Syria doesn't want to get in a war with America, unlike the Taliban, who have been fighting a war with, who fought in America for 20 years. So I'm just gonna magically assume that the Taliban don't attack the Americans for some unknown reason. Of course, the reason he says he wants to keep the airfield is because it's close to China's nuclear sites. And China would know that. Like, he couldn't hide that from China. Like, the Chinese security people would go like, why are the Americans keeping this airbase? And like, the strategists would assume that it's because they want to strike out nuclear sites. So that would get the Taliban and the Chinese working together, because I don't think like the government of China and the Taliban are actually working together. Yeah. It would definitely get the Taliban Chinese military support and advanced air defense weapon systems. So, because the Chinese would want to deal with that airbase, so assuming that the Taliban aren't going to directly attack the base, and they could defeat the base considering what Hamas did. Hamas did the October 7th attack on the Al-Aqsa flood, which completely wiped out Israel's somewhat strong defenses. So, we already know that America's defenses would be overwhelmed by the Taliban, and the Chinese would give them weapon systems. So in case of a war between America would go, hold on, let's go attack China's nuclear sites. At that point, America would transport a lot of attack assets to the airport. So then the Taliban would attack, but let's say the Taliban have a different plan. Let's say they like the attack takes off, so the Taliban have these advanced weapon system and stealth can hide from radar and infrared, but visually they'll be able to see the aircraft, and aircraft like have flight paths, so like all their aircraft are taking off, and the Taliban would have pre-sighted thing, like they'd be able to shoot down the aircraft easily. So all these advanced American fighter jets and bombers taking off get shot down, and then the Taliban launch an attack, and like the American defenses get overwhelmed. So what's going to happen is American forces in the base, American soldiers will be overwhelmed, and what would happen is the aircraft mechanics, and like cooks and stuff, all personnel would be presumably given guns and say, let's defend, let's fight to the last man or whatnot. But what would happen would be, eventually they'd all be like overwhelmed, because like there'd be tens of thousands, a lot of Taliban attacking. And then a lot of these soldiers and stuff would either have a choice between surrendering or keeping up the fight and dying. So they would surrender to the Taliban. and they wouldn't be able to destroy all like the sensitive equipment in time because they're like fighting for their lives and stuff, and that might not be on top of their mind or something like that. They would probably destroy a lot of it, but not all. So, as in this scenario, the aircraft was shot down. So, all the sensitive equipment. Right. So, like, the specialist mechanics and stuff, they would be captured by the Taliban. Some would be captured by the Taliban. The equipment would be captured by the Taliban, and aircraft have ejection seats, so the pilots would eject and be captured by the Taliban. So what you'd have is the sensitive equipment, the mechanics who know how to use it, and the pilots. So all three most important people would. So what would happen is these people would be transferred to China. So China would have the sensitive equipment, the people who know the sensitive information, and the pilots, and they'd be prisoners. So America would suffer hundreds killed, hundreds captured, absolute humiliation as their base is destroyed. And remember, Pakistan is friendly with China, arguably Chinese ally. So yeah, so like Pakistan wouldn't be against the Taliban. Like we already know, like they're in bed with, they're like in support of the Taliban. So like it'd be an actual disaster for America. It would be a great humiliation as their fortress in Afghanistan is defeated in a day, and all this high profile sensitive stuff is captured. And like America couldn't like send a rescue mission because it'd have to either go over Iran or Pakistan, who would be supporting the Taliban and stuff. Pakistan's got good relations with like America and Afghanistan, so I don't think that I don't know about it. But what it would be is it would be a disaster. So that's Donald Trump's plan. It wouldn't result in 13 American soldiers killed and a few hundred civilians, but America doesn't care about civilians killed. It would end up with 1,300 instead of 13 American military personnel killed and a lot captured. So yeah, that's just what I think about Donald Trump's plan. I'm not an expert, I'm just a person who is interested in this sort of stuff, and if I know how disastrous his plan is, and everyone should know, and I think a lot of the criticisms of Trump aren't the actual criticisms of Trump. So yeah, don't have much more to say except that is all.